I really feel like we need to do more media, frankly, to show that like these so-called left-wing ideas really are like not that crazy. A lot of these things are so common sense and like we need to like deprogram people from like the propaganda that like this stuff isn't common sense. It is common sense. Use your brain.
Was it a radical professor at art school that led you to believe that everyone should have access to antibiotics? Like, what went wrong in your education that set you on this dangerous path? Welcome back to War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. My guest today is Mary Houlihan, a comedian and artist who gives a shit, which is rare, sadly. The Mary Houlihan Show features lefty comedians, socialist candidates, independent journalists, and other folks not represented in the mainstream media. And thanks for coming on War is Stupid.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, so this episode is coming out on St. Patrick's Day. So, to quote Sinead O'Connor, okay, I want to talk about Ireland.
I want to talk about the famine.
Exactly. Notably, yeah, there never really was one.
Yep.
So tell us, what does being Irish American mean to you? And is it offensive that the Boston basketball team is running with it?
No, I don't mind the Celtics. I don't mind the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think those are cute. Yeah, so I'm Irish American, but I'm pretty American. My family has been in the country for multiple generations. We got here in the early 1900s, and but we're pretty connected to Ireland. Like a lot of people, their great grandparents come here and then they become American. But like my mom was raised by her Irish grandma, so they had a very Irish culture at home. And my dad used to go live with his grandma in Ireland in the summers when he was a kid. And some of my aunts and uncles through marriage they're from Ireland for real. So we were very aware of Ireland and Irish politics and uh como si dice colonialism.
Yes. Which is rare for Americans to grow up knowing what colonialism is. So
I know.
how do those discussions manifest in an Irish American family?
Well, it's kind of funny because, you're like a white person. And so sometimes you hear grown-ups talking about things that Irish people go through. And as the kid, you're like, oh my God, shut up. You're white. You don't have it that bad. But then like the more you learn, then you're like, okay, it's actually maybe a bit more complicated than that. Yeah, my parents just have all these crazy stories. Like one time they went on a trip to Ireland. This was like the early 80s, and they were just like sightseeing, and they parked in front of a post office, and they got out of the car, and then like the cops came over and just started harassing them and had like guns pointed at my parents, and they were like, what the hell is the matter with you? What are you trying to do here? And they were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Why?
And they thought that they were terrorists. They thought that they were like trying to bomb a building. So this cop, he took my dad over to the car, the gun pointed at him, and he said, put your key in the ignition. And my dad was like, oh my God, like oh my God. And like my uncle, one time he got the crap beat out of him by someone with different politics when he was in Ireland. And also, like, my dad, when he was a little kid, he had like a memory of there was like the Orange Parade coming through. And so his
Those
grandma
are
told.
the Brit apologists.
Yeah, so it's just like a bunch of like angry Protestants marching through town and looking for someone to beat up. And so he was like a little kid, and him and his siblings, they're like hiding under the window trying to make it look like no one's at home. And yeah, you just hear these stories and you're like, what the hell? And
Yeah, white
yeah.
on white violence is so interesting because there's more effort involved in profiling, but that doesn't stop them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, growing up, my mom would like tell us stuff about Protestants. I remember one time I had like a sleepover with a friend, and I said like, "Oh, my mom says that you guys are wasps." and, and my friend was like, what is that supposed to mean? And she didn't know what that word meant, and obviously that was not something that I should have said out loud.
It's funny, like Ireland's history as a colonized people is back in the zeitgeist with Sinners, which, yeah, watching vampires sing "Rocky Road to Dublin" is like one of the best
Yeah.
cinematic moments of the year.
Yeah, there's like way more cultural awareness about like Ireland right now because of Kneecap and Sally Rooney, and both of them advocating for Palestine. Pretty much every Irish celebrity, what's her name? Nicola Coll, I don't know her, from
Yes,
Bridgerton. All of them are vocally pro-Palestine, and like in Irish Americans, you don't see it as much.
that's when the Americanness
Yeah, I think
comes
some
through.
people, yeah, I think they just don't have these stories that my parents told me. So it's not clicking to them that, like, they should be on that side of things.
Yeah, so for people who don't understand and are confused as to why um Sally Rooney and Davos from Game of Thrones is awesome. I think he was even on like one of the flotillas. Like what is it
Yes,
about,
yes, exactly.
yeah, what is it about the Irish experience and Irish history that leads to solidarity with Palestine?
So growing up in an Irish American household where, the parents know Irish history, you hear all the time how horrible British people are. You hear that British people hate you, Protestants hate you. They might act polite, but stay on your toes around these folks. And the New York Times is biased in favor of the British government. The BBC obviously is biased towards the British government. And so you can't really trust their coverage of like British-Irish relations. Um, and, Britain colonized Ireland for centuries. And after World War One, Britain took what we now know as Palestine. So in like the 1920s, like they had Great Britain, they had troops in Palestine, and they would take troops stationed there and bring them to Ireland and vice versa. And so I think some people don't understand. Well, first of all, so many Americans don't know the history of Israel Palestine at all. So I get why they don't understand that it's not just like a metaphorical, oh, their battles are battled. Like, no, like literally we have the same history. We were subjugated by the exact same officers. um,
And I like
and
to
yeah,
take
it's kind of like just the idea of like, well, there Britain goes again, going around the world and making everything worse.
yeah, I like to take this opportunity to blame the British. Like,
Yes. Frankly, they don't get blamed enough.
yeah, they
That's
get
kind
off
of crazy.
so easy. And
Yeah. No one knows that part about it, which is crazy because, like, Just Google it.
Exactly. Or it's probably by design because of the
Of course.
BBC and the New York Times can't just.
Exactly.
Like, I'm so tired of people being like, oh, it's a centuries old religious conflict. Jesus and Muhammad and Moses all
I
went
know.
to the same high school. That's actually an old Jon Stewart joke from Jon Stewart Unleavened circa 1996. Like,
That's
no.
funny. But yeah, that's like what we're taught in like history class and, your basic like middle school or even high school history class where they're just giving you broad strokes of like what's going on around the world. They always say, "Oh, the Middle East, it's holy wars. It's
Mm.
Jews versus Christians versus Muslims, and they're always at war." Anyways, let's move on to France.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a whole episode called The French Are Innocent? Question mark. Because yeah, the British and the French, yeah, carving up the Middle East, putting
Yes.
arbitrary lines, leaving other people to pick up the pieces. Like none of this is inevitable or natural. It's all just like a bunch of selfish dudes making shitty decisions that we're still suffering from 100 years later.
Yeah, it's very Uh, like the whole thing about like the media, the way that the media explains these things and confuses people has been like such a concern to me the past couple years. I feel like years ago, I could understand people were propagandized and that if you said anything about Israel Palestine to them, they'd be like, "What are you saying?" Like I almost understood like, okay, I'm just not going to break through with this person. And now it's like after people have been seeing the genocide on their phone every day and they still don't know basic history. 100 years ago, the British had it. 1948. They killed a zillion Arabs and took their houses. Like, why don't you know this stuff, you guys? Like, this is not hard information to find.
No, and now it's even in movies. I think there's a movie coming out. Once it's reached the cinema, there's truly no excuse not to know anything anymore. But I'm glad you brought up the media being shitty because it really like opens the lane for shitty people to take advantage of a shitty situation. So I loved your your not Tucker Carlson video.
Yeah,
So yes, tell us about that very important public service and why people
thank
shouldn't
you.
like Tucker Carlson, even if he says some things they might agree with sometimes, but he is not a humanitarian.
So, yes, so Tucker Carlson had this interview with Mike Huckabee. It's like a really long interview. And in it, he just grills him on Christian Zionism. And, Mike Huckabee is the ambassador to Israel. So he's just grilling him. What do you think about Israel? Who do you think is allowed to live here? And what rights are they allowed to have? And is Israel allowed to expand further into Lebanon, Syria, these other countries? Um, you're an evangelical Christian, so you're pro-life, but you're okay with tens of thousands of children dying. Like, he just really grills him and does a good job. But I don't like Tucker Carlson.
Right. It's
He's like
as
a right-wing guy, and like I think he's probably trying to run for president as a Republican, and that like this is part of his media tour. So anyways, yes, I made this video where I just spliced it up so that I'm asking the questions to Mike Huckabee. And because I think some people, well, it's so hard. I don't want people to watch Tucker Carlson,
exactly.
but I want someone to be talking about these things. And unfortunately, the people who are talking about it are him and Candace Owens. And to me, I feel like the obvious solution is like, hey, let's just have like more famous progressives talk about this stuff. Then we can share their videos instead of sharing these stupid videos. And so I'm really kind of troubled as to why people aren't doing that. Or I feel like there also becomes like this thing where like some Palestinians talk about this, that like they have to be like perfect messengers. They're not allowed to look like they're feeling rage or anger, even though their families are dying. They have to be like so friendly and likable in any of their media appearances to be taken seriously. And like, I mean, the whole thing about like the podcast, these right-wing podcasts, this podcaster made Trump happen. This stuff drives me so fucking nuts. I I want to yell at everybody for different reasons. Like, for instance, Tim Dillon on his podcast, he'll talk about Gaza. He'll tell the truth about that. But people will be like, oh, I don't want to listen to him. Listen to somebody else then. Jesus Christ. Like, ugh.
Yeah, it's just it's embarrassing for literally everyone else that they've left this on the table for
Yes.
racist, sexist grifters.
Yes. And I know people have their problems with Dave Chappelle, but that also breaks my heart that he, says, wow, Israel killed 240 journalists. And then people are just like, shut up, don't listen to him. I'm like, don't listen to him. Surely you can listen to him sometimes about some topics.
Right. I don't think the trans community will then be like, Dave Chappelle's lying about that too.
Yes. Yeah. So, I just want everyone to be like more nuanced or something. Because we keep looking to like famous liberals being like, use your platform, use your platform. And frankly, they're just like, shut up. I'm not trying to use my platform. So like, I guess people like you and me just need to speak up more and try to build platforms, I guess.
I know, eh? Let's see. It's sometimes the things can sneak through the algorithm if you say enough cutesy language, like, oh,
Yeah.
20,000 children were unalived. It's like, oh, it
I
also
know,
makes me feel like I'm going
yeah,
insane.
that's a crazy thing too.
Yeah, I wish, people don't have the moral clarity of Irish celebrities, or I guess the privilege, because I heard that like Ireland just started like a pilot program of basic income for artists.
Yes, yeah.
Which
Yes,
like,
that's true.
oh, that rules. So then you
Yeah.
have the freedom. If you're honest, it doesn't threaten your bag or your
Exactly.
stamps.com sponsorship.
Of course. Yeah, the thing about like, do Irish people have a different moral clarity, I think is a really funny thing.
Yeah.
And is like, I feel like I have to be very delicate talking about it because I don't want to come off saying, hey, you guys don't have a moral code and these guys do. No one wants to hear that. But there was this speech that I really liked. It was like Kneecap's manager. I don't know if you saw this. He gave this big speech, in support of the boys for all of their advocacy and standing up for what's right. And in this speech, he said, like, Kneecap isn't like pop stars. A lot of these other pop stars, the people that they look up to are pop stars, are rock stars. And their big dream in life is, I want to be famous and play stadiums and things like that. That's their dream in life. But Kneecap, they grew up like in and around Belfast. Their heroes are like martyrs, are people who like died from hunger strikes. And I feel the same, and it's so hard to talk about because you're going to sound so like self-righteous or whatever, but like I do comedy not because I want to be a famous actor at all. Like all of my grandparents and great uncles and great aunts, all of these people were priests and nuns and like social justice workers. Like, this is who I have to like feel good about when I lay my head down at sleep. Like, these are the people I need to make proud. My parents don't care if I like win an Emmy or something. You know what I mean?
That's so cool. So what did radicalize you to become a comedian?
Well, I went to art school and I thought that I would like make stuff for social change. I thought that was the point of art. And then I got there and my teachers told me, actually, it's kind of like a money laundering scheme. And you're just trying to sell stuff to rich collectors and it's part of their investment portfolio. But we can, try to have fun and do what we want within those confines, but ultimately that's what the art world is. Um, and so I felt so disillusioned by that. And I also felt like sometimes I would see art where the artist in their artist statement, they'd be saying, I'm doing this big political statement and these sculptures are about racism. And then I'd be like, well, the only people going to this gallery are like the richest people on earth. So, like, whose minds are you changing? Who are you inspiring? The whole thing just seems so hypocritical and crazy. And like, meanwhile, I was watching Colbert Report and Chappelle's Show, and I was like, okay, well, these guys, they're actually talking about politics, and regular people are watching these shows and changing their minds and becoming politically activated in some way. So I was like, okay, I'll just do comedy then.
That's cool. The visual artist to stand up pipeline. I know that was like the journey for Abby Jacobson. Like, is it a common enough thing? I come from the musical theater kid to stand up
Hmm.
pipeline. So you have like that same like wanting to express yourself, but then just needing to find an outlet or a community, but like the roots were still there.
Yeah. Well, a big thing in like the art world is you have to write artist statements all the time. Like you always have to anytime you're applying for something, or if you have a gallery show and you have your paragraph on the wall and it says like your name and like uh, basically like what your message is of what you're trying to say and why you're using these specific materials. For instance, when I was in art school, I would do these like huge drawings made out of Bic pens, and I would do animations out of construction paper. So in my artist statements, I'd be saying like, oh, I'm making a comment on like these are cheap materials that anyone can use, blah blah blah. Um, and so I feel like that relates to comedy because comedy it's all an artist statement. You're always using words to say like this is like what I want you guys to understand. This is where I'm coming from. Um yeah, I feel like they're very similar in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very much a gateway drug. Have you ever combined the two to do funny art or artistic comedy?
Yeah, I did like a web series for Comedy Central a really long time ago. Um It was called Learn to Paint with Mary Houlihan. And so I did like paintings and um being a goofball to camera. Um yeah.
That's so fun. That's for people who find Bob Ross too, like saccharine, because he can be a bit like, yeah. I know I would never say anything bad about Bob Ross. Some
Oh
things are
no,
sacred.
no.
Yeah. We were talking about Irish American families. So I grew up in a very right wing Zionist community. So I'm so
Yes, yeah.
curious for people on the other end of the spectrum. Like, what do people fight about with their cousins? Like, is there an equivalent?
Hmm. Yeah, gosh, this is so interesting to me. Like, first of all, I feel like a lot of the reason that like I'm vocal about Palestine is because I have so many Jewish friends and like they taught me about it years and years ago before it was like in the popular consciousness because of the genocide. And a lot of these people expressed to me, like, I probably would talk about it, but it's going to like be disastrous for the family. We won't be invited to stuff anymore. My mom won't talk to me, and whatever there's going to be like huge social consequences. So kind of feel like a duty to talk about it also because like when people don't talk about it people develop these like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So I feel like I'm like no 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 no, like look how many Jewish people voted for Zoran, like they're not
Yes.
like that. um but yeah, the fighting with cousins. Well, yeah, I guess that's the thing that I'm trying to talk about is like a lot of Jewish families, it's like the parent or the grandparents might be like super right wing, pro Israel, pro Trump. And then, the Gen Z or the millennials might think that's horrible and whatever. And I feel like every single family has that, like has Trumper relatives that they don't like. And as much as my parents are like aware of Irish history, they're not leftists at all. And, yeah, my dad is like a libertarian. He doesn't think anyone should be taxed. He doesn't like they really do not think the same way as me. Um,
Okay, that's good to know. So it's so always easier to be like, oh, the grass is always greener. But no, the
no
beauty
way, yeah.
of generations and the human condition is we'll always find something to fight about, even if it's not Israel Palestine.
Yeah, and I have so many cousins, and it's really a range of like, do-gooder volunteer types who like are super left wing to people who I think are secretly Trump.
Oh man,
Like
yeah.
not wearing the red hat, but I think that's probably what they're like.
Which is, yeah, arguably more, yeah, insidious.
Yes,
You never know.
exactly. Well, that's also like such an interesting thing to me, in this era where everyone's like, I hate Trumpers, Trumpers, you made this happen. I feel like a lot of polite people are getting away with having the worst politics and causing a lot of damage, and everyone is blaming like rednecks with American flags. And I'm like, shouldn't you guys like be more angry at like people who are like corporate lawyers?
Yeah,
Like people who like actually cause harm? Like, why do we care about like some woman with a red hat who makes $25,000 a year? Like, she's not really a concern to me.
right. Yeah, she's not one of the CEOs who was partying at the inauguration and quite
Yeah,
literally bankrolling the ballroom. That yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and
that
like
yeah,
Hollywood, of course, is full of people who are like progressive, except for Palestine. Um, or like think that they're liberal, but they're completely not liberal. Like they'll even like vote for Trump because like, well, Trump will be better for Israel, but I'm still Shut up. Like
yeah.
I feel like you kind of can't even like trust these people who like pretend to be polite and liberal in public because I've met enough of them that frankly are not like that.
Yeah, right. I guess their algorithms are different, that they don't
Sure.
like can see the material impacts
Yeah.
of the harm that's being done. And so speaking of harm that's being done, smooth seg, you're headed
Yeah,
off
that's a
to
good segue.
Cuba. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, I'm going to Cuba. I'm really excited. So yeah, there's the Nuestra America convoy, which kneecap is going. I
Oh my
really want to
God.
I want to meet them so bad. And so there's just going to be like a shitload of journalists and notable people going and filming stuff, and there's going to be a big rally on the 21st. And so the Cuban people are asking people to come and bring awareness. And I'll be going with a group with Progressive International that the comedian Kate Willett organized. And so she just put out a tweet like a month or two ago, like, I want to organize people to go to Cuba who's interested. And so I replied and I was like, yeah, I want to go. You're smart. You have a good head on your shoulders. I trust you. And now we have like maybe like 15 or 20 people in Kate's delegation, and it's all people who are comedians, journalists, or people who kind of do a little bit of both. And we're going to film on our iPhones. We're going to bring cameras. We're also going to have like a videographer there to help us. And hopefully we can just show what's going on, which is these horrible, horrible sanctions. And yeah, there's so much misinformation about like the Cuban government is at fault for all of this stuff and blah blah. No, we are sanctioning them. We are not letting oil get into this country that powers almost all of their electricity off of oil. hello, like, what are we doing? Trying to kill these people? Frankly, our government is trying to kill these people with these sanctions. And so the only way to like bring in medical aid or supplies or anything is remittances from family members or people who just want to help out. So we're all going to be flying in with like 2 huge suitcases of aid. I'm also going to be bringing a bunch of like solar powered lights and things like that we can use during the trip if when there's going to be blackouts. And then when we head back to the US, we can just give all this stuff to people and say, okay, here you go.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. Are
Yeah,
there I've are there flights from the US, or do you have to like sneak in through like a connecting? Because I just remember growing up in Canada, someone came to Canada so they could fly from Toronto to Havana because there
that's
were no
interesting.
flights.
There's commercial flights. I'm going to be flying on American Airlines from Newark
Amazing.
to Miami to Havana.
So yeah, so they'll let them have tourists, but not oil. I face mayor. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone is feeling moved by definitely look into it because a lot of the people going on the trip, this isn't their first time to Cuba. Kate was just there a couple months ago. Some of the other people on our trip also have gone in this past year or previous years with just shitloads of aid. So definitely, if you're interested in that, look into that. Yeah, I'm worried that I will get radicalized to the point that I'm going to be like, oh my God, I have to come to Cuba every month, and then I'll have to start doing that.
At least there are direct flights from Miami.
Yes, yeah.
What are you most excited about for the trip?
Honestly, just like bringing the stuff because you
Yeah,
just
what
like
kind of stuff do we take for granted that needs to be brought there?
like Advil, antibiotics, Imodium, just like basic over the counter drugs, toilet paper. We're partnering with this group called Not Just Tourists. I'm trying to enunciate it good because of my accent. Not Just Tourists.com. And you can partner with these people who they're in communication with people in Cuba or other countries that they partner with, and the people tell them, here's the medical supplies that we need. And then the volunteers in America, they pack up the suitcases, and all you have to do is just meet up, pick up the suitcase from them. And it's not just to Cuba, they also do it for other countries too.
That's amazing. I just think of like truly how spoiled I am. I don't want to leave New York because there aren't 24-hour grocery stores. So
I
I'm like,
know,
what if at 3 a.m. I need Advil? And for the
I know,
people of Cuba, they
I
at any
know.
time of day, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm expecting everyone says it's going to be like emotional and to get ready for that because
Hmm.
you're going to go and see lack and be like, it doesn't have to be this way. This is crazy. And it's like the sanctions and everything going on in Cuba, it's honestly like similar to the like our relationship with Israel is that so much of it is just like people doing political calculations where they know in their hearts genocide is wrong, but they're afraid of losing certain donors and certain voters. So that's why a lot of people in office aren't clear-sighted on Israel Palestine. And likewise in Cuba, there's a lot of people in the government who say, well, we don't want to lose the Cuban American voters who are anti-Cuban regime. So we need to do these sanctions because Cuban Americans like the sanctions. Like, it's so crazy just to see people not doing the thing that makes sense, the thing that's morally correct. It's really crazy. So I'm expecting it to be frustrating, but hopefully we can talk about it in a way that, like we said earlier, is digestible and, not so angry or divisive that people go, ugh, I don't even want to listen to this.
Yeah, people deserve Advil and antibiotics. Like, shouldn't be a hot take.
I know. And we have it 100 miles away from them. It's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, you. I remember like the news story, like you could literally swim from Cuba to Florida.
Yeah.
So the difference, just a few nautical miles
Yeah.
between survival.
So, get ready for there to be like a bunch of morons on social media saying like this is performative. These people
Yeah.
going to literally every single person is going to be bringing so much aid. And so whatever you feel about this person's just there. This is the only way to get medicine in there. So we'd love if more people would come, frankly.
Yeah, it's funny. Like showing up and giving them things isn't helping, whereas me criticizing the people showing
Yes.
up and giving things, that's what's my internet comment is what's going to
Yes.
move the
Yeah.
needle.
Yeah. And I heard Hassan Piker used the bad dog collar. So,
Right.
so Cuba needs to starve.
Right. It's so interesting, like, yeah, being a leftist, because then you have to fight against both liberals and right wingers, whereas right wingers get to be openly evil, and people are like, well, why would you expect otherwise?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. And yeah, that's why I really feel like we need to do more like media, frankly, to show that like these so-called left-wing ideas really are like not that crazy. A lot of these things are so common sense and like we
Yeah,
need
was
to
it
like deprogram people from like the propaganda that like this stuff isn't common sense. It is common sense. Use your brain. Come on.
was it a radical professor at art school that led you to believe that everyone should have access to antibiotics? Like, what went wrong in your education that set you
That's
on
so
this
funny.
dangerous path?
So this is a funny question. I know you're like jokingly asking, but the college I went to, San Francisco Art Institute, which doesn't exist anymore, they went bankrupt.
Aw,
But it was known as like a radical college. Um, it's the campus has these Diego Rivera murals all over the place. There's one
wow.
really, really big one, and like he made them. They're not shipped there. Like he painted all of these murals all over the school that all depict workers, They depict like brown people hands painting things and cleaning things um and you have to take like humanities classes for a school to have accreditation. All art schools have to have like math, science, history type classes. And so a lot of the history and humanities classes talked about colonialism. And it was never framed as like a left wing. I just always thought like, yep, yep, this is the history of what happened to this continent that we moved to. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. So yeah, it
And
is
you're
so
okay.
strange.
Like
Yeah, it
white
is.
people, like we can
I
hear
know.
about slavery and colonialism and like still be okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be banned for our safety.
Yeah, it's yeah, the whole like culture war conversation around this stuff is like so stupid and like yeah, it's just like out of touch with the reality because like California is like a majority Mexican American state. I think someone will probably correct me and say no, they actually make up this percent, but
But it did
it's
used to be
normal for
Mexico.
yeah, so it's like very normal for like your history class to talk about these kinds of things, to talk about like pre-Columbian cultures and what happened when Columbus came and so on. Um, it would be weird if they didn't.
Did you grow up in California?
No, I actually grew up in New Jersey.
Are you and you're in LA now?
Yes, so I grew up in New Jersey. I went to college in San Francisco. Then I did comedy in New York forever, and then I moved here last year.
And yeah, how are the vibes in Los Angeles now between like Ozempic and the Ellisons?
Um, it's funny. When I was in New York, I was doing a lot of like organizing and getting involved in different groups like Irish for Palestine, Irish for Zoran. And then when I moved here, I was like, oh, that's gonna be like sad because there's like not gonna be any Irish people. Um, but pretty much immediately I fell in with people who care about the same things and are doing similar work. So I have met like a lot of people who really care about the Ellison CBS Paramount stuff and they protest that. ICE is a pretty huge thing here that's very much on people's minds. I'm hesitant to say the vibe is good,
Hmm.
but I would say that, like, there's kind of a spirit of, like, if you don't like what's happening, get involved. Like, people don't, at least in my circles, I don't see people, like, being like, oh no, the world's ending. Like, I see a lot of people getting involved and doing some kind of community work. And I meet so many people who go to, like, the LA Charter Commission meetings. Like, so many people
Ooh.
go to, like, city council meetings, way more than in New York. I have like one friend in New York who's like a nerd about going to those kinds of things, but here, it's almost like, Mary, you're not going? We're all going. So I would say there's more a spirit of people being like politically educated and trying to make change.
That's great. That's yeah, that just shows my biases and the anti-LA propaganda that I've internalized that like, oh, everyone out there is just vapid and skinny and if they can afford Erewhon.
Sure, maybe they're just in I don't interact with them. I'm sure they're here.
For sure, right. The same can be said for New Yorkers, like, of
Of
course, like,
course, of course.
my heart goes out to LA also because you guys have to buy gas, and
Yes.
that's and just to go back to the name of the podcast, War is Stupid, like, everyone, if they didn't already, at their community board meetings, like, is learning about the Strait of Hormuz and how it affects gas prices. So, yeah, that's bleak. So, I'm glad there's, yeah, an anti-war movement out there.
Yeah, there's like all these people like running for office here in Los Angeles and also just in California who are anti-war. I feel like everyone is feeling the Zoran effect,
Mhm.
you know? So hopefully we'll get some anti-war people into office and, people will continue to learn more about how even like local decisions can affect this kind of stuff. Um, like the city of Los Angeles, they have to like sign contracts with like a weapons manufacturer that wants to do some work here, or pension funds, maybe let's divest from this thing and that thing. Like there are so many ways at a local level that do affect war. And yeah, I think it's really important that more people learn about that stuff because it can be very demoralizing when you just see the headlines about like Congress is sending another zillion dollars to Israel and you're like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" But yeah, the more like grassroots candidates I meet, I feel like so hopeful that like, oh, let's just get all of these guys in office and then I know there's a lot of people that we have to replace, but if we can make it that popular, maybe we can get this happening.
Yeah, who are some of your favorite people you've met and have interviewed on your show?
I really like Angela Gonzalez Torres. She's really interesting. She's running for Congress. She's endorsed by Justice Democrats, and she's anti-war and anti-ICE, and she reminds me of AOC kind of. Like her story is just like a regular person who looked up who the Congress member was and was like, this guy's taking money like private prisons from APAC. He's taking money from ICE detention centers, but then in his campaign ads, he says, I fight for immigrants. He does not fight for it. And so it's just like a regular, like young woman decided to run for office. I'm so inspired by her. Um, Oliver Ma, who's running for lieutenant governor, I think he's really awesome, and he's really good at campaigning.
Yes,
Like,
his
he's good at
video.
social media.
Yeah,
So,
he had
yeah.
an excellent video on your show actually when he talked about how like ICE is financially incentivized to
Exactly.
yeah, make the detentions because they get a payout for every person they detain.
Yeah, it's so important for, like, people to learn about this stuff because so much of, like, the conversation online or in person kinda just, like, goes into this, like, "But immigrants shouldn't." "No, but immigrants should, we should." And it's like, "Shut up." Like, it doesn't matter if you like immigrants or don't like immigrants. The fact is these rich people are getting rich off of us. Like, we can't at that point, I don't care how you feel about immigration. Like, can't we just, like, agree that, like, these freaks shouldn't be getting tax breaks to build prisons? When, if you're anti-immigration, don't you want these people to be deported? Why do you want them to be in
Yeah.
prisons? That's crazy. And your tax dollars are going to pay for these prisons. You should be so pissed that, anyways, that
Yeah,
again is why we have to figure out the messaging parts because so many people are really just stuck in like the immigrants shouldn't be here type of thing that they don't want to hear anything that challenges that worldview.
you can't even pretend it's about wanting to send immigrants back. No,
Yeah.
I it's it's about keeping them here to which is hardly a fiscally responsible thing to bankroll these warehouses. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's slavery. Look where they're picking up people. They're picking them up in Home Depot parking lots. They're picking them up from job sites. They're getting slaves.
holy shit.
We know
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, if Dubai goes down in this war, at least yeah, there'll be a new Dubai
Yep.
built out of slave labor here.
Yep.
And
On that note.
I know, right? Exactly. I'm glad. I usually end by asking people how where and how they find hope. Which I'm so glad you mentioned the candidates. Is there anyone else and any semi uplifting notes to end on? But no pressure. I don't want to be one of those toxic positivity people.
No, positivity is cool. I like it.
Okay,
Another
cute.
person that I really like is Ida Ashori. She's running for city attorney of Los Angeles, which is like one of those jobs that you're like, what is that? And they literally sign off on like every single government contract. So
Wow.
think about what an anti-war person in that position can do. And someone who isn't bought by like police lobbies, that could be really consequential to have someone with good politics in there, someone that's people funded and not funded by corporations. Um, and yeah, I say it once, twice, here I go again. The media part of it is really important. We really need to deprogram people and like make the left look normal because it is normal. There's so much propaganda that tells people these ideas are fringe when they're not. So I really love people like Hassan Piker, like Francesca Fiorentini, Majority Report. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Anyone who's doing work like this, whether they have a zillion followers or just 1,000 followers, I think it all matters and it all helps. So, and like when I see comedians like John Marco or Stavi, they go on a podcast and they'll say a little anti-war thing. And I'm like, that's so amazing because I know how many people they reach. And like, thank goodness there's people with that size of platform that are saying this stuff. That really gives me hope.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's so sweet. And yeah, anyone here, if you're listening, I feel like something that doesn't get said often enough, like we talk about how hard it is to speak up, but it can also like be really hard to shut up. Like that frustration you feel about like keeping your mouth shut, like you might actually feel better if you
Wait,
just
yeah.
let it
Yes, yeah,
out.
yeah. I thought you were saying once you start talking, it's hard to stop. So that's why I laughed. But that's such a good point. I do know so many people who want to talk more and are, struggling with it. And I think they'd sleep better. I think they'd be happier, and I think the consequences that they're fearing are really not as big as they think they are. So if people want to speak out, it's never too late.
Exactly. I do comfort myself with the thought that like there are no TV writing jobs anyway
Yes!
to be
I'm
fired
always
from.
saying that. I'm
Yeah.
always saying that. Like, what jobs are you guys being quiet for?
Yeah, you're not rendering yourself unhireable when there's just no hiring being done.
Exactly. And,
Might
like,
as well.
all of the successful people right now are people that built themselves up on YouTube and TikTok. So, by being authentic, by the way. So, be honest, be authentic. It's a good career move, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, even if it's for cynical branding purposes,
Exactly. Yeah.
people. Yeah, I'm so excited to follow your trip to Cuba. I'm so glad you're going, and yeah, spreading the message of universal Advil. Like
Yes. Yeah.
that's so devastating that like it takes that much effort for people to get just what they deserved. But I'm like so grateful that you're doing it, and I hope you have I hope there are cocktails. Like I hope there are some elements of fun.
Yes, I think there'll
E-
be rum, there'll be cigars.
exactly. So like even like by candlelight, live music. You don't need electricity. So
Mhm.
I'm so excited to see it, and safe travels. So
Thank you.
if people, where can people find you? Where can people find the mission if they want to contribute?
Yes. So the fundraiser for our Cuba trip is givesendgo.com/aid and journalism delegation. Um, and you can follow me at Mary Houlihan on everything. My YouTube channel is The Mary Houlihan Show. And I love you.
Yay. Thank you so much. Safe travels. And yeah, I hope to have you back to hear about the trip itself.
Yes. Talk soon.
Thank you for listening and or watching War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. Please subscribe, rate and review, tell your dads. We'll see you next time.